Go.
Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. This is our first webinar that we've hosted through the Zoom interface. We're fortunate to have Ken Dewey with us, who's our professor of networking and cybersecurity here at Rose State College. And today we're going to take a few moments to talk about Zoom and some other utilities that are out there that you may find helpful while you're at home, sheltered in, to communicate with coworkers and also stay in touch with family and friends. So with that, we'll turn it over to Ken Dewey. Thank you, Ken.
All right, thank you, Jim. All right, I said I'm Ken Dewey. I'm the director of cybersecurity here at Rose State. And real quick, funny story to get us started here. We attempted to do this live without a password, and it did not turn out good. The reason is hosting Zoom meetings live on the internet, when you publicize the meeting ID so people can find it, brings in a lot of trolls. So we ended up with all kinds of unwanted people joining our meeting. Hence the reason we're doing it this way. So basically a word of caution. If you are going to be doing this live, there is a setting under your meeting ID where you can specify a password. Highly recommend putting the password on, especially if you're public, keep the trolls out of your meetings. Okay, so back to why we're doing this. Okay, this is remote learning, basically. Now with the virus going on, a lot of us are working from home. I happen to be working from my office, but it really, with Zoom, you can work from anywhere. This application gives me the opportunity to speak, obviously like we are now, gives me opportunity to share my screen, interact with students. And a prime example of doing this is I teach 2 classes on Tuesday nights. I teach a 5:40 and a 7:05. Well, normally I teach those in the classroom, but now that since we're doing it via distance, I'm teaching it from home. And Tuesday night, I actually taught my class. I had, I think, 46 in one class and 30-something in the other class. And the feedback I got from my students was, this was the best interaction they've ever had. First of all, since they're stuck at home, they like the opportunity to be able to see other smiling faces. So I did ask all my students to get a webcam, which most of them had. One student didn't. Well, he was watching it from work, which I kind of understand. But so it gave them the opportunity to hear me live, hear me lecture over a topic, ask questions live, and I was also able to share my screen so they could see what I was lecturing on. But a really cool thing happened at the end of my first class and before my second class started. Normally I close out the Zoom session and then start it back up again. But the students asked if I could leave it running so they could interact with each other. And they did. I just left it running for about the 15 minutes and they were interacting with each other, having a great time. And then one student asked a question. We were using a specific, we were trying to mount an ISO file. Don't worry what we were doing, but he had a hard time doing it. Then another student was able to share his screen, showing the first student exactly how to do it. So without even my help, the students were helping one another using Zoom. So it made it really cool. And one of my students says, wow, this is the coolest thing, because she really does not like distance learning because she can't ask questions. But she says, this is so cool because now I can ask the questions. I can get the live feedback, interaction with others, interacting with the instructor, and end up being a better experience overall. So they absolutely loved it Tuesday. And we can also record it. Like I'm recording this webinar right now. So now what we can do is we can publish this webinar so those who couldn't attend will be able to watch it whenever they like. So I record all my lectures. I've recorded them for the last 5 years. So I have many, many lectures, but it gives these students to go back, give them the ability to go back and watch things over again. Because maybe, I covered it differently last year than I did this year. So that's a really, really a cool opportunity for them. All right. A little bit more about the Zoom platform. Okay. You can have virtually unlimited people attending depending on your license type. Zoom comes with a free license. So if you want to use this for free, not paying a penny, just sign up for an account. Go to zoom.us, that's ZOOM.us, sign up for a free account. That can allow up to 100 people to interact for up to 40 minutes. So for a majority of people, that's going to be plenty. If you just want to visit with your students, visit with classmates, you can use Zoom totally for free and even recorded. So that's really excellent. But if you want more than 40 students, like I said, I had 46 the other night. No, if you want more than 40 minutes, you need the license to count. And if you want more than 100 people, you need the license to count as well. Prices vary. You have to check on the website. Now, we have a state license, so ours is a little bit cheaper. So if you happen to be under the Oklahoma education system, Zoom is actually very reasonable. So you can get as many licenses as you need. We do use it for all of our faculty here on campus, plus others uses it as well. So that's how the applications work. You can share it with each other. Now, we're currently just showing my office, but you can share your screen. You can share an application. You can share whatever you want, and you can even have multiple people sharing at one time. We're having a dilemma about how to handle exams, because you're not going to come up to Rose State to take an exam. So what we're going to potentially do is allow you to take the exam at home with me watching you via Zoom, which would be kind of nice. And I could actually have all the students doing it. But obviously, we wouldn't want to be sharing screens at that point because you can see what other people are doing. But it does give you the opportunity to see what others are doing, see who's there. So nice feature. Zoom does work with and without a camera. And it also works with and without a phone or a microphone as well. You could call in. Whenever you create your meeting, there's actually a number you could dial in with a phone if you didn't have a microphone on your computer or speaker. So it is a nice feature there. Some of the more advanced features of this are there's a whiteboard built in. I can't show it to you on here right now, but actually I don't think maybe I can. I can't without sharing my screen right now, but there's a whiteboard feature where I could actually do math, writing on the screen. There's a chat feature. We could sit here and send messages back and forth to each other. There's just a whole plethora of applications. I can allow people to share their screens, or I can not allow them to share their screens. I can allow one person to share or multiple to share. And it's all up to the meeting host discretion. So since I'm the meeting host here, I can turn that on or off. By default, Zoom has changed it so I am the only one who shares the meeting or shares their screen in the meeting, but it's one little click of the button instantly enables it for multiple. So it is for privacy reasons is why they did it. They don't want just everybody sharing it. Because I have seen that where if that's turned on, people could, like we saw earlier, start sharing their screen, and it's not the best thing in the world. Let's see, what else can we do with Zoom? Say recording. Recording comes with it. Now, when you do record, you have two options. You have an option to record directly to your computer, which means it'll record and save it on my computer, which is fine. When I was doing my Zoom session Tuesday, I did not use that option. I used record to cloud option, and let me tell you, it was kind of cool because while I was recording my second class, I was actually doing a lot of other stuff on machine, and I ended up locking up my machine. So my students were live in there, but my desktop locked up. So what I did was I brought up Zoom on my phone and then told the students, hey, I'm going to reboot my machine real quick. So while I was on the phone, I rebooted my machine, brought my machine back up and started recording again. And there was something I didn't expect happened. It actually kept all of the recording. It kept the initial recording before it locked up. Then it switched to my phone and kept that recording. Then it switched back to my laptop and finished recording off my laptop, all in one seamless stream because I was recording to the cloud. So if I record locally, obviously I reboot the computer, I lose it. But since I was recording to the cloud, it made one long seamless recording that actually worked out amazing. I was very shocked. I did not expect it to do that. So it's kind of one of those undocumented features that I found. So yeah, really good. Let's talk about a few other applications. Facebook Live is a real big one right now. A lot of people are using Facebook Live. Facebook Live is wonderful, but the only real interaction with that is like texting, through the asking questions via text. You really, I couldn't share my screen and then you share your screen at the same time. It wouldn't work. So it's a wonderful way to get word out, for me to talk. But Zoom in the education environment seems to work a lot better because I can share my screen, then you can share your screen, and we can see each other's faces. That's why I told my students this week. I said, I miss your all smiling faces, so please bring a webcam to class with you that day. Because without the webcam, what you really see is just their name, which is fine, but are you really there? So with a webcam, I can actually see, like I can see Jim and Tamara are right here present right now, so I know they're participating or at least listening to the recording. So a webcam is a definite benefit in that aspect. Let's see, what else can I tell you about these? There's a meeting, or I'm sorry, an invite capability where I can send an invite out. Obviously, we had it on the web. We had issues with that earlier, but I can create separate meeting IDs. So I can send out a different meeting ID to a different class. Maybe you want, one meeting ID for your morning class and one for your afternoon class. So you could very easily keep them separate that way. Also integrates with our LMS, which is our learning management system. We're currently using Canvas, and Zoom integrates perfectly with that. So I can set up Zoom meetings straight through Canvas, and the student just click on. So it gives that face-to-face, or that that interaction. I mentioned at the beginning, our program can be taken online 100%. We've actually had that capability for years. It's kind of nice that we have it during this virus times here, but the ability to give the face-to-face interaction while taking online class is a very big benefit. Okay. Couple other features. There are emoji type things, reactions you can use in here that a lot of people like that. Now you can, put that on the screen. I mentioned annotations a little bit. We could sit there and draw on the screen. You could draw on the screen as well. So maybe if I was sharing something, you could circle it or put a heart on it, whatever you want. So just lots of interaction capabilities. There we go. Now we have a thumbs up on my screen. I see it there. So a lot of cool ways to allow interaction while you're giving your lecture. I mentioned the chat. Chat's already there. And if you do record it, one thing a lot of people don't realize, the chat is recorded as well. So if there was questions along the way, maybe your students are asking questions, when it's over with, you can share the video, the recording. So you have three options. You can share the screen grab, which is basically the video with the audio. You can share the audio separately, and you can share the chat log as well. So you can have a record of all of it. There is a drawback to the chat, which I'll tell you, a lot of people don't realize this. Say me and Jim are having a private chat, which we can do in this application. It will be just between me and Jim. No one else can see it. But when I finish and export the chat log, if I publish the chat log, they're all together. Everybody would see the entire chat. So you would have to edit that chat log and remove private chats out of it. So really good application there. Now, and I mentioned Facebook Live. Let's see, another one, Skype. Skype's a real big one. Skype is actually run by Microsoft. They allow you to basically do the same thing, make phone calls. Mainly is how Skype started. It does provide some interaction, not nearly as much as Zoom, but it is there as well. Another one that's real big is Google Hangouts, especially if your organization has a G Suite app, like we have here at Rose State or middle schools have. They have G Suite through Google. That provides Google Hangouts, which is pretty much the same. Yeah, I don't know if you realize this, most of the applications, once somebody gets a feature, everybody else gets the same feature. It's just that Zoom seems to be doing it a little bit better at this point, but G Suite is free. It comes with your membership. You just don't have all of the features that you have in Zoom. Any other applications I'm not thinking of? Jim, do you have any other I should mention? I'm trying to think.
I don't think so. I think you covered it very well. I think for us today, the big key takeaway was, in our effort to host an open forum and engage with the public and all, we quickly learned that you really want to scale it back and have a trusted audience and use the passwords to the extent that you can, because it went south really quick. So we certainly advocate for meetings with a password for sure.
Now, you don't necessarily have to have a password, But if you do publicize the meeting ID, well, then you got a problem. If we hadn't told the world about the meeting, well, people wouldn't have found it. But we wouldn't need a password at that time either. So real quick, one more thing about the meeting ID. The meeting ID default setting is a random meeting ID, which is fine. So every time you start, it comes up with a brand new meeting ID. But the problem with that is my students couldn't remember it. I would have to send it out every single time the new meeting ID. So what I did is I set the meeting ID to my phone number, which actually worked out perfectly. I've been using that forever and ever and ever. But again, if you do publish it live on the internet, then you're going to end up getting all the trolls and a lot of stuff you don't particularly want. All right, anything else? Any other questions?
That's it. Thanks everybody who's watching. If you're watching, you're probably seeing this a link from our social media or potentially on the Rose State College YouTube page. Please come back and visit often. We plan to do these more as we can, and hopefully to keep us all informed and entertained while we're sheltered in. But thanks again for tuning in. Come visit us online, learn more about Ken and his programs at rose.edu/cybersecurity.
Thank you very much.